You're watching the Hong Kong racing show ahead of Champions Day at Sha Tin this weekend. I'm Andrew Brown, joined by a special guest co-host, Andie Biancone. We're going to cross to Alex Evers and Tim Carroll in Hong Kong shortly. But firstly, Andie, I need a health update from you. What's the latest on your tooth and what happened this week?
Oh man. Well, it's been a bit of a week. Was galloping at Keeneland pretty much full time the whole meet. And my last day of galloping at Keeneland, my last set, jogging this filly back on the training track, and she's being feral, like sky leaping, lunging, and I'm like, man, Andy, you should probably ask somebody to grab you with the pony because this isn't going well. And then she like settled down. I was like, nah, she's fine. 5 seconds later, well, bam, just face straight to my head. And I must have had like my mouth wide open, like totally mouth breathing because like my lip is fine, my nose is fine.
Mm.
But this tooth right here was like pushed back at a 25-degree angle, just like kicked back, and I just tasted blood. I had my goggles down and I was like, oh my gosh. So thankfully, they've been able to bind it on the back. And ever since I've had that splint put on, I feel really good. This tooth is fractured. Um, so yeah, they're gonna try to save it. I've got a couple root canals scheduled for after Derby, but worst case, I get a gold tooth, and I'm just happy it wasn't my nose this time.
Well, fingers crossed they can save it. And good news that they've been able to, in the meantime, put it back into place so that we can see your lovely smile and also so that you can sink your teeth into this incredible card at Sha Tin this weekend for Champions Day. What do you think of it overall?
Oh, it's outstanding. I mean, obviously, feels a little disappointing with Romantic Warrior not being in there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's had a massive campaign in the Middle East, so I wouldn't expect him to be in there. But
Mhm.
every year, look forward to seeing him run. So it's definitely a little bit different, but makes things a little more wide open in some of the other races.
That is true. We've got to get you guys together, Romantic Warrior and Andie Biancone, at some point this year or soon too,
Start
don't
a GoFundMe.
we'll do. We'll put something up on screen to get you to wherever romantic. I think Japan might be on the cards later on in the season. Maybe we can get you over
Great.
there. All right, though. Let's get into these three Group Ones. I'm excited to look at the fields and also to get your thoughts and selections. We'll start with the Chairman's Sprint Prize, where the world's best sprinter QEII Rising lines up, looking for his 12th straight win. Really doesn't need too much more introduction other than that. I think it's also going to be a record equaling 8th win in a season for QEII Rising as well. Just absolutely phenomenal how that horse has progressed in 2024, 2025. Number 2, Satono Reeve from Japan, back at Sha Tin after he finished third behind QEII Rising last December in the Hong Kong Sprint. Number 3, Lucky Swain, a super interesting runner, once rated the world's best sprinter himself. But he's been off the scene due to an injury now for around 12 months. J-Mac jumps on. So really intriguing there. And outside of them, 6 Helios Express, seen a lot of QEII Rising's rump this season. Been runner-up to QEII 5 times. And the speed map, let's have a look. It has QEII box seating behind Victor the Winner and co-partner Prance. Andy, are you going to be Captain Obvious here like me with QEII Rising?
Yes, I'm just gonna keep picking QEII Rising until he gets beat. Like he's just been so dominant in this sprint division. It really just doesn't make any sense to go against him at this point.
Mm.
He's my top pick. I feel like this is kind of the free square of the Group Ones that day. He's been impressive to say the least this entire season. I did put Lucky Swainess in my selection. This is my second selection.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, like you said, one of the best sprinters in the world, and I know he's running off a very long layoff,
Yeah.
but his barrier trials have been outstanding. He's been working super well coming into this race, and Lucky Swainess. Okay, the cool thing about Hong Kong racing is they are so open with the wagering public in terms of horses having injuries and such. And I do believe he came back a bit lame after one race. It had that in the report. Um, so this is clearly a horse who's kind of had a chronic issue, and sometimes those kind of horses run their best race off the layoff, especially sprinters. So, a horse who kind of has a little chronic issues that nag them and bother them, they'll get like worse as the races go on. But like that first one back, especially with the way he's been working, I
Mm.
think we should expect a massive effort out of him. So Kalying Rising, the top selection for me. Lucky Sueñas second, and then I'll take the Japanese horse Santo Greve as this third choice, just because he's kind of proven himself against this group, like you said,
Yeah.
Andrew. Third behind Kalying Rising at HKIR, and he's coming in with a Group 1 win in Japan, so he's been impressive.
Yeah, totally agree with the Japanese runner there. I've got him in for second behind Ka Ying Rising. Just can't see him being beaten. He's drawn well too. He's had some outside posts, managed to overcome them. This time he's drawn nicely in four. There is a little bit of rain around. The track dries extremely well, but even if it was rain affected, David Hayes says Ka Ying Rising loves the wet track and runs better even on a wet track than a dry track. I think it was bring it on, he said, when we mentioned rain last week to David Hayes, the trainer. So in for third, I'll go the Eternal Bridesmaid Helios Express. So similar numbers for Andy and I in the Chairman's Sprint Prize, but it would be fantastic to see Lucky Sueñas run a big race as well. So really excited for that one. All right, the second Group 1 of the night is the Champions Mile. And Aussie superstar Mr. Brightside is bound to attract plenty of support. He's the winner of 9 Group 1s, 10 if you want to count the All-Star Mile, which became a Group 1 after he won it. Number 2, Voyage Bubble, has just been outstanding this season, taken over the mantle as Hong Kong's best miler. Has drawn wide, though, post 10. Zach Purton sticking with Galaxy Patch after finishing second last out in the Chairman's Trophy, and a couple of equipment changes there, too, to take note of. Chang Glory, got to give him a shout out. The pride of Iowa always gives his best. And on the second page of the market, the Mark Newnham trained My Wish, been super consistent this season, was unlucky when fourth in the Hong Kong Derby. Should be primed for a big one here. And the speed map actually shows My Wish getting a great run behind the speed, which is Royal Patronage. Andy, my first question for you, have you written to the governor of Iowa yet about getting a statue made for Chang Glory?
I have not, but that's a really good idea. I better get on that. I mean, at least at Prairie Meadows, they should, do a little shout out or something. Um,
100%. I've just Googled it. Kim Reynolds is the name of the governor of Iowa. So we'll start something up there as well. Maybe another
Absolutely.
GoFundMe.
Have to have his iconic pink blinkers on the statue. Um, I decided to stick with the Hong Kong horses in the Champions Mile. I'm home team here all the way. Voyage Bubble, the top pick. He's our Hong Kong Gold Cup winner. His barrier trials have been awesome. I know he draws a little wide, but he really is a distance specialist, and he's been very lucky for me this entire season. So I'm sticking to my boy Voyage Bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But my second choice is going to be My Wish, because if you go back and watch that Hong Kong Derby, it was insane. I mean, this horse was dead last, widest of all, and came with the most massive rally with no pace in front of him. They absolutely crawled, and he still rallied so well from off of it. So I do think he is one that we can expect a big effort from. And hopefully, with the slight cutback in distance, there's a little more pace to run at. So I was just very impressed with his Hong Kong Derby effort. So I think he's going to be my second choice there. And then third choice, Galaxy Patch. Very pleased that Zach Purton sticks with him, especially they kind of had a rough trip in the Chairman's Trophy. He broke poorly and then made this like middle move up the rail inside horses, and, was just beat a small margin. So I think the extra distance he gets in the mile is going to suit him. And like I said, I like that Zach Purton sticks aboard after that brutal trip last time out.
Some great points, and I think the tongue tie goes on for memory too. Maybe some cheek pieces. Don't have that information right on me, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere as well. Just check your form guides. It's a really terrific race, isn't it? And I could have gone a number of different ways here. perhaps you being Team Hong Kong, and I'm quite often Team Hong Kong, but maybe I'm just being Team Australia here, Andy, and I'm going to give the slight nod to Mr. Brightside. I like the fact that he's been in Hong Kong for a good period of time too, so he's had a lot of time to acclimate. He's one of Australia's most popular horses. If he's not winning a Group 1, he's running second. Was only just beaten a lip by one of your favourite horses, Romantic Warrior, in the Cox Plate in 2023. It was a photo that took 5 minutes for them to decipher who had actually got the nod in. It was that close. And we know how good Romantic Warrior is. If he brings that form, Mr. Brightside, I think he goes very close to winning this. Hardest to beat, Voyage Bubble, who just couldn't have been more impressive this season, has just been so consistent. And third, for a lot of the reasons you said, I just don't think you can discount My Wish, who I think was the star 4-year-old of the series across all of those 4-year-old series races, including the Derby, which was just such a sensational run, considering the lack of pace that you just outlined in that race. So I think he's had a nice break as well, some good spacing between races, and I expect a big run from My Wish. Alrighty, the last of the 3 Group 1s is the QEII Cup. What a terrific field too. Number 1, Goliath for John Stewart and Resolute Racing. We've been seeing plenty of him on the Netflix show if you've been catching up with that and watching any episodes. 2, Prognosis. Was runner-up in this race. Actually, he's been runner-up in this race the last 2 years behind Romantic Warrior. J-Mac jumps on, so that's an interesting twist here because no Romantic Warrior here this year. 3, Testiera back in Hong Kong after running a good third in the Hong Kong Cup back in December. And you've got the Kiwi, El Vencedor, which is another exciting aspect to this race. Over the page, Liberty Island on the back of running 8th behind Soul Rush and Romantic Warrior in that really exciting Dubai turf a few weeks back. The speed map has the New Zealand El Vencedor taking up the challenge. Andy, off the top of your head, what are 3 things you think of when you think of New Zealand?
I think of kiwis. Don't they have those puffins?
The little birds? Or
Puffins? Do they have puffins, or is that Africa?
no, they're called kiwis. The birds are kiwi. There's a fruit kiwi and there's a bird kiwi. They're a flightless bird.
Okay, I'm getting it all mixed up. New Zealand, not really. I almost like forgot that New Zealand existed. Like,
Sorry to all our New Zealand fans watching.
sorry, New Zealand.
It's a beautiful country, absolutely gorgeous country. I lived there for a couple of years, and it's like you think of all the most beautiful things in Canada concentrated into this tiny 2 skinny islands. It's amazing. You can see the whole country in a few weeks.
Wow. Very cool. Well, even though I forgot New Zealand existed because, I don't get out much, I'm picking El Vencedor on top
No
in the
way, that's
QEII
awesome.
Cup. Yeah, he's the fresh face. I think this race is very unique just with the missing presence of Romantic Warrior. Like, it's
Yeah.
finally just kind of wide open. I'm going to take the fresh face. He's got 5 wins in a row, 3 of which are Group 1s, and he's just a distance specialist. He's got 4 wins going 2,000 meters, and I think he's the one to beat. I took from there on, I don't really have the strongest opinion. I took
Mhm.
Goliath as second choice. He does get a cut back in distance from the Japan Cup, and he was keen inside horses in the Japan Cup. He was just kind of right there, keen. I feel like he never took a breather. So hopefully he works out a better trip here, maybe not keen inside horses so that he can get a breather and cover up. But nonetheless, he's a beautiful horse. I've been watching him train on Twitter. Wake up in the morning and just see Goliath like galloping, John Stewart reposting. So kind of fun there. I think he's a beautiful horse, and I don't know what to make of Prognosis. I
Mm.
was in the end, I did take Prognosis as the third choice, but I was this close to putting Straight Aaron as my third choice over Prognosis, which is, I know, a hot take, but you're comparing Prognosis, who has been off form coming into this race, and Straight Aaron has arguably been in the best form of his life. No question, Prognosis is kind of the better. I mean, like the classier horse.
Mm.
But I ended up going with him just because I'm just telling myself that he likes Hong Kong. The last time he ran this race, he was second behind Romantic Warrior. And it wasn't a great trip either last year. He broke dead last, had a wide trip, and still gave the champ a run for his money. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that the off formness is just that he hates his hometown and that getting back to Hong Kong shakes things up for him.
That's awesome. So just running through your top 3 there again.
El Vencedor, Goliath, Prognosis.
Great. What a nice
Honorable mention to Straight Aaron. He was almost my third choice.
We know you love Straight Aaron. You've had a crush
Yeah.
on him for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And we didn't compare notes before going into this, but believe it or not, I'm with the Kiwi as well.
Woohoo!
So I'm going with the Antipodeans. We've got Mr. Brightside and then El Vencedor. I love the fact that Zach Purton was booked on this horse probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So, he's obviously had an eye on this for a while as well, which I think is a really positive sign. It's going to take a peach of a Purton ride up front to get the job done, but he's won back-to-back Bone Crusher Stakes in New Zealand. He comes here looking for 5 straight wins, been in career best form. So, yeah, really excited to see El Vencedor. I've got him on top, and I had actually, we might have the same trifecta here as well. I've got Goliath in for second and Prognosis for third. Prognosis, I just loved Prognosis's runs in the Cox Plate last year too, behind Via Sistina. Via Sistina has just been an absolute superstar down under, like getting the job done in Sydney and in Melbourne, running both directions, and has just been a star. So to run within a length of Via Sistina in the Cox Plate is really great form. But I think this is a really great race. It could go any way. If you like something, you should be able to get value about whoever you like as well. So, and good luck to John Stewart and Resolute Racing with Goliath. I'm sure that'll be really exciting. Well, Andy, that's our selections done and dusted. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all your wonderful insights. These races for us, ET, around sort of 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. So we might have to watch the replays when we get up now that we're both in Kentucky.
Yes, that's like my morning routine. Like I'm in the bathroom, brushing my teeth at 5 a.m. About to go to check. I'm watching the replays. So, that's how it goes. That's my little treat. But yeah, great racing in Sha Tin. Don't miss out on it.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining. Looking forward to catching up with you at Churchill Downs as we look forward to the Kentucky Derby soon, with 2 former Hong Kong jockeys riding as well. It's really exciting. Umberto Rispoli on the favourite Journalism and Jaume Herrera on Luxor Cafe. So we'll bring you a little bit more news about that in the show next week. But in the meantime, let's kick it over to Hong Kong for some further analysis and their thoughts on the races. Here's Alex Evers and Tim Carroll standing by in Sha Tin. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Brownie. Here with Tim Carroll, the Tim Carroll. Looking forward to your picks, brother. You've been on fire recently.
Yeah, been pretty good. Happy Valley was a bit tough last night, to be fair, but hopefully we can bounce back from that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's get into this. Let's talk sprint. And I know it's a deep field, but it's heavy at the top. What are your thoughts here?
It's very heavy. You've got the world's best sprinter, QEII Rise, and I think it's actually a really good renewal, but let's be honest, surely he wins the race. I think only bad luck can beat him. He's going for 12 straight. He's the highest rated sprinter in the world. He's one of the highest rated horses in the world, and he's the obvious play. He's probably going to go off the shortest price favourite all day on the entire card.
Sure. You've been on him since the absolute beginning. If you were on him before anybody else, and you haven't been wrong on it, so it's kind of a wonderful thing. Now, second place and third place, I think that's probably the most interesting part of the race. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I think Helios Express has been runner up to him 4 or 5 times this season, and third to him one other time. You've got to feel a bit sorry for Helios Express because he is a world-class sprinter, but he's just been unlucky enough to be around at the same time as QEII Rising. The one thing I would say about Helios Express, there's plenty of pace in the race. He's a closer, he's a late closing horse, so the race will be run to suit. But the bottom line is he's just not as good as the favourite.
Now, in your opinion, Satona Rev, is he going to be able to usurp Helios Express and get second? Because Helios has run second, if I recall correctly, last 4 runs to QEII Rising, and the QEII Rising form has been incredibly strong globally.
Yeah, and I suppose Satono Rep, you could say he ran a career best last time out in Japan, so he's probably improved a little bit since his last year when he was behind QEII Rising and Helios Express, so you'd have to throw him in the mix. We haven't had the draw yet, to be fair, and I would like to see that, but I think Helios Express, I just think the race would be run to suit. And if I was playing the forecast, let's be honest, there's not going to be any value in back in the favourite, but if I was playing the forecast, even though it's the obvious forecast, that's the way I would go.
Okay. All right, so your top 3 in the race, and I'll give you mine afterwards.
QEII Rising, Helios Express, Satono Rep, and can I just mention Lucky Swain Ness, because he's on the comeback trail now. He's been off for a year. He's actually got a local rating of 132. Well, QEII Rising, local rating, very high, 132. Round about a year ago, Lucky Swain Ness was certainly considered the best spreader in Hong Kong and maybe the best in the world. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. He's a serious Group 1 horse, as we know. I think this might be a bit deep for him first up after a year, even though he's been trialling very well. But, gee, I hope he runs well.
Yeah, he looked incredible this morning in his final piece of track work. And you said it, the pace is on, and he could get back, and he could make one run there late. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a nice race. I don't know if he's good enough to win it at this point in his career, but... And for me, we're going QEII Rising. Helios Express that I've done the last 4 times they've run. Yeah. And I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to go Lucky with You to get in there for third. So he's kind of a nice type. He's clearly not as good as these, but a bit of price in there. Champions Mile. Matchup between Australia's best miler, Hong Kong's best miler. We got Mr. Brightside and Voyage Bubble. What are your thoughts here?
Look, if you said to me that my life depended on who would win the race, I would go with Voyage Bubble. He's taken over the mantle as Hong Kong's best miler with the retirement of Golden 60, but he's going to be short enough in the betting, I would imagine. I think there could be a little bit of value here with the 4-year-old My Wish. Now, he won the first leg of the Triple Crown. He then came out and ran second in the next 2 legs, but oh, gee, with an ounce of luck, it would have been a Triple Crown. But he certainly should have won the Derby. I suppose the Classic Cup in between, a little bit debatable. But basically what happened, in that race, he got on the front end, set up for the back markers. In the Derby, he draws the outside. They drag him back to last. What happens? It sets up for the front runners, flies home, just misses run second. I think there could be a little bit of value about My Wish. I'm going to put him on top. And Voyage Bubble, who at the moment, Voyage Bubble is rated £30 superior on local ratings to My Wish. So My Wish does have plenty to find, but he's got a lot of upside. So I'm going to go with Voyage Bubble for second. And for third, I have gone with Mr. Brightside. I've got to throw in the Australian. It's his first time, well, when I say it's his first time away from Australia, he was actually bred in New Zealand. He had 1 start over there, but it's his first time leaving Australia since then. But if you go through his form, let's not forget, he was only a lip behind Romantic Warrior and the Cox Plate over 10 furlongs. Now, I know that's on a sharp track. I know he runs 10, but he's definitely a better over a mile. If you look at his form in Australia, the last time he didn't run 1 or 2, and most of them have been in Group 1 races, November 2022. So he loves the mile. I think he'll run well.
Yeah. And it was mentioned that he likes a little bit of give to the ground. And the way the weather forecast is looking, it's like rain is about to come in. It's supposed to rain for 2 days. Granted, this track dries out incredibly well, but it could soften it up just enough to give him the track preference that he likes.
I think the haze, they wouldn't mind seeing a bit of rain. And if you get back to, Dad, David, has got QEII Rising. He's 1 start on yielding ground here. He absolutely hacked up.
Yeah, and last time we talked to him, he said he was bring on the rain for him. He said he almost goes better at it. It's an interesting race. I couldn't agree more with My Wish. His final sectionals over the 400 in the Derby were incredible and he's a small, lighter horse. So if it does rain affected ground, he should handle it pretty well. I can't get off Voyage Bubble here though. He's the one that I'm going to go with, and I hate being a favorite player, but I do like My Wish to get in there for second at a price, and I do think Mr. Brightside will be right in there. Guy of Forces looked well, but I'm just not sure if he's as good as this type of horse. He's an impression.
If I can throw a roughie in there, when I say a roughie, I don't think it'd be that big a price, but Galaxy Patch at the start of the season, it was kind of him and Voyage Bubble were the two that was sort of, one of them was going to be Hong Kong's best miler, and Galaxy Patch won first up, and he had Voyage Bubble back in second. Now, I know he's been turned over in 5 subsequent runs, and people can say that he's been disappointing. I think they're probably right. But, and you don't want to make too many excuses for a horse that's been beaten 5 times on the bounce, but he has genuinely not had the rub of the green in a few of those. If you're playing the exotics, I'd certainly include.
Absolutely. And we talked to Purton about it before, and he said that he wanted to run him in blinkers. The owners weren't very keen on putting blinkers on him, so they go kind of a middle ground, and they go with cheek pieces for the first time, which he said in this trial, he trialed well. He was less afraid to go through horses. So we'll see. We're doing this before the barrier draw, right? Barriers might be a thing. I think it's just going to be a race of who's following who gets the trip, and between My Wish and Galaxy Patch, I think you're going to get a better price on My Wish than Galaxy Patch here.
Yeah, look, hopefully he should be around that each way mark. So one for the each way plays. As I said, voyage bubble, several life depend on it. But I think if I'm going to be price sensitive, I do think My Wish is going to run big.
Yeah, I respect you for being price sensitive. I hate to get to pick just all favorites all the time. It's so hard, but it is what it is here. And now we're gonna get on to the QE2 Cup, where we've got Goliath coming over, Tostiera, Liberty Island. It's a wonderful race. Prognosis, if he can get out of the barriers. He's had a couple goes here with J-Mac on this time. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm going to go with Goliath. I've got no doubt he's the best horse in the race. Now, the problem you've got with Goliath, he's more of a 25 metres. In fact, he won his maiden over a mile and a half first up. He was last seen in a Japan Cup. I'm not going to say he was a luckless loser, but he was beaten 3.5 lengths that did not pan out. He should have finished closer. That's over a mile and a half. One start over this trip, he finished fourth, although he has won over a mile 3. But I just think that he's got too much quality for them. He's rated 126. I think it makes him about the third top rated turf horse in the world at the moment. The nearest here, a couple of the Japanese horses are on at 118. So he's got 8 pound to play with. And the other thing is, too, that there's not a great deal of pace in the race. Now, I know that he's not some speedster, but I have seen him make all over a mile and a half. And I can just see him slotting in that 4th, 5th spot, only a couple of lengths off the lead, run of the race. I don't think they want to get too far behind the leaders over 10 furlongs. And if they can put him there, I just think he's class.
It's an interesting race because there is literally no pace, and depends how this track's played. Recently, it's been forward towards the rail. I kind of like El Vencedor with Zach Burton, who's
he's the likely leader.
Zach has stolen so many races at the front end here, and it's kind of, he was very cheeky this morning. He was being himself, kind of playing up a little bit, and Zach goes to, he's pulling the Pakistan Star right now. Zach's in good spirits, and I just think that he's going to sit a pretty good trip. I kind of like El Vencedor.
Yeah, and well, like I say, he's the likely leader as well. And as we know, we saw Zach beat Golden 60 a couple of times. Wonderful front-running rides. I think it was California Spank. What's the other one?
Exultant he was on.
Yeah,
those long distance where he stole them on the front.
Another one. So, yeah, look, I haven't put him in. He's actually won, I think it's 3 Group 1s in New Zealand in the space of about 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible. So he's obviously a tough horse. And although he's a 6-year-old, he's in career best form. But it's difficult to get a handle on that New Zealand form.
Absolutely.
How it's going to stack up here, I don't know.
Absolutely. And, there's a reason I'm a photographer and not a punter, and I give out tips, but depending upon how My Wish runs, and this is, I know, wild, I'm going to get back on Cat Farah to run a big race, because I do think he's going to sit, if he draws a barrier, obviously, again, before the barrier draw, if he draws towards the fence and he can sit close to the pace and Craig Williams can reproduce what he did in the Derby, I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up again, but he's also disappointed me in the past too. It's a wild pick.
I don't know about the Derby because of the way it was run.
Yeah,
he had a high level of form in Australia, but let's not forget, start number 17 in the Derby, and that's where he broke his start. That's where he shed his maiden status. How many horses have had 17 starts and broken maiden status in the Derby? Incredible. Look, not for mine, but I respect your opinion.
Love it. And you got anything for third in there?
Well, I'm going to go with Liberty Island for second. I think she's a very good mare. She hasn't won, I don't think, since her 3-year-old season. She didn't have a lot of luck in Dubai, and the Dubai turf. She was planted wide, but she probably would have needed the run anyway, I would think. Last year when she came over here, she's had the one run. She ran second to Romantic Warrior. She was well held by him, and to be fair, she should have run second. She finished where she should have when you look at the makeup of that race. But she was well in front of the others, and I think she's the likely one for the second spot. I got to put in Tostiera, the Japanese horse. I mean, he's won a Japanese Derby, for goodness sake. He's obviously a very good horse. He goes over further, but from 5 starts over this trip, he's a winner of a Group 1, placed in 3 others, so he's certainly effective at this trip. And Prognosis, I don't want to sound like the bloke who shot Bambi, but I swear he should have beaten Romantic Warrior in this race last year. He missed a kick. The rider took off 1,200 metres out, and he got beaten that far. Now, was I on him? Yes, so I might be speaking through my pocket a little bit. But I'll tell you something about Prognosis. 7-year-old still hasn't won a Group 1, yet he's ran to Group 1 level so many times, and it'll nearly be a travesty of justice if that horse retires without a Group 1 next to his name.
And that's the only thing I worry about him is the start, and how if he has issues at the gate and the pace is off and he loses some ground at the beginning of the race, is it going to be something that he can overcome?
Yeah, and also the lack of apparent pace would worry me a little bit. But if you have a look at the Cox play, I know he was well beaten by Via Sistina, but that was, well, according to the ratings, that was the best performance we saw on turf last year anyway. Well, but he actually pinged out at the gates that day, and he set up on a hot pace. If anything, the one time you would have liked him to have fallen out and been at the back, he went forward. And I just thought, well, given what's happened here in the past, and they haven't had a lot of luck a couple of times, given the apparent lack of pace in the race, they might actually try to ride him a little bit more forward here than what they have in the past.
Tim, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Great.
It was lovely. We got the beautiful Sha Tin in the background. Time for the barrier draw. Back to you, Brownie.
Thanks very much to Alex and Tim, and that wraps up our special Champions Day edition of the Hong Kong Racing Show. Good luck if you're playing Sha Tin this week. We'll review all of those big races on next week's show. Plus, have a look at the Kentucky Derby with former Hong Kong jockeys Umberto Rispoli aboard journalism and Jao Moreira aboard Luxor Cafe. So we'll preview their chances heading into a big weekend of racing in Kentucky as well. We'll see you next time on the Hong Kong Racing Show.